The traditional silence of the State of the Union address was broken in February 2026 by a bipartisan standing ovation for Chief Warrant Officer 5 Eric Slover, a pilot whose actions have reignited a global debate on American military interventionism. Slover, a veteran of the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment known as the Night Stalkers, became the public face of Operation Absolute Resolve, the January 2026 raid that resulted in the capture of Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro. Appearing in full dress uniform and using a walker due to wounds sustained in the operation, Slover was awarded the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military decoration. His presence in the House chambers signaled more than just individual bravery. It marked the culmination of a high-stakes, covert mission that has effectively ended a decade-long geopolitical stalemate and placed the United States at the center of a controversial regime change transition. The capture of a foreign head of state by U.S. forces is an escalation of a doctrine with deep roots in the late 20th century. Historically, U.S. involvement in Latin American leadership transitions was often characterized by subtle signals and indirect support, such as the 2002 attempted coup against Hugo Chavez, where the U.S. provided training and institutional building through the National Endowment for Democracy while denying direct involvement. This followed the 1994 Operation Uphold Democracies in Haiti, where a U.S.-led coalition used an ultimatum to restore Jean-Bertrand Aristide to power. Unlike the covert deniability seen in the 2002 Venezuelan attempt, or the proxy-led Operation DB Achilles in Iraq during the 1990s, the 2026 mission involving Slover represents a shift back to the direct kinetic intervention style last seen in the 1989 capture of Manuel Noriega in Panama, or the 2003 invasion of Iraq to remove Saddam Hussein. The success of Operation Absolute Resolve hinged on the specialized capabilities of the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment and the resilience of its lead pilot. During the January 3rd mission, Slover piloted the lead MH-47 Chinook helicopter, tasked with inserting Delta Force operators into a heavily fortified compound in Caracas. The environment was high threat, protected by Russian and Chinese anti-aircraft technology and thousands of loyalist troops. Records indicate that as the aircraft approached the target under the cover of darkness, it was met with intense machine gun fire. Slover was struck 4 times in the leg and hip, sustaining injuries that shredded bone and tissue. Despite what the Department of Defense described as searing pain and a significant loss of blood, Slover maintained flight stability long enough for the assault force to fast rope into the compound and for his gunners to neutralize immediate threats, preventing a catastrophic crash in enemy territory. The elevation of Eric Slover to national hero status has split international observers into 2 primary camps. Those in favor of the operation argue that the mission was a necessary humanitarian and security intervention. They contend that removing a regime responsible for systemic human rights abuses and economic collapse was the only path to regional stability, and that the use of a precision surgical strike minimized broader civilian casualties compared to a full-scale invasion. On the other hand, legal scholars and international critics focus on the violation of national sovereignty and the precedent of the U.S. military forcibly removing a sitting president. They predict that this action will trigger a long-term insurgency in Venezuela, destabilize international diplomatic norms, and potentially provoke retaliatory actions from global powers like Russia or China, who had invested heavily in the previous administration's security infrastructure. Looking forward, the legacy of Eric Slover will be defined by the political vacuum left in Caracas and the legal fallout in Washington. First, a transitional government is being established in Venezuela, but the threat of a counter-coup by loyalist remnants remains high. Second, the Department of Justice and international bodies are expected to face challenges regarding the legal status of captured foreign leaders, specifically whether Maduro will face trial in a domestic or international court. Finally, the success of the mission likely signals a new era for U.S. special operations, where Operation Absolute Resolve serves as the blueprint for future high-risk extractions and regime change missions conducted under the threshold of traditional warfare.